We've been keeping up with the crisis between Palestinians and Israelis recently. And one person who's been keeping up with it as well, but not in the same way, has been Joseph R. Biden. Joe Biden has not woken up to the reality that we need to help the Palestinians and their ever growing and their ever losing battle to stay alive against Israeli forces constantly kicking them out of their homes, pushing them out of the state, the only part of the state that they have left. And Joe Biden has not been doing anything to actually improve the condition of the people in the Gaza Strip, the West Bank, or Palestinians at large, or even Israeli Arabs who are being attacked and discriminated against inside of Israel as we speak. Now, one of the people who are extremely outspoken about the human rights crisis and the violations that the Israeli government is committing against the Palestinian people and Arabs at large is Rashida Tlaib. Rashida Tlaib and the rest of the squad have been extremely outspoken about the need for Joe Biden to step up, wake up, and do something about this ever-growing crisis before it's too late. Rashida Tlaib made many important speeches to the House of Representatives over the last couple of weeks as this crisis has only been heating up. And recently, she decided to take it all the way and confront Joe Biden to his face about what he's been doing to the Palestinians, about his unwillingness to stand up against Israel in support of the Palestinian people. Let's watch a video of it happening live. So Rashida made sure to come down here. Biden flew down to Detroit to talk about auto workers. And Rashida Tlaib not only just greeted him, she stopped him to have a conversation to tell him to stand up and do something about the plight of Palestinians in Israel.
I tell you what, Rashid, I want to say to you that I admire your intellect, I admire your passion, and I admire your concern for so many other people. And it's from my heart, I pray that your grandmom and family are well. I promise you I'm going to do everything to see that they are on the West Bank. You're a fighter, and God, thank you for being a fighter.
Yeah, you're right. For one, not even pronouncing her name right. Her name is Rashida, not Rashid. Cool. I'll tell you what, Rashid. I'll tell you what, Rashid barely remembered her name. Thankfully, she did something to stand up to him, to say something, to be like, hey, to like, look. It's really easy, especially when you're up there, to just be like, I mean, we love our ties. Biden has, through his entire life, been extremely lenient on Israel with the war crimes they commit against Palestinians, with almost uncritical, unwavering support of them. He even tweeted out unwavering support for them as they now shoot fish in a barrel and bomb not only like Palestinian homes, but also UN schools, UN hospitals. They're destroying schools and hospitals now and providing no proof that any of it was actually owned by Hamas, and they needed to do that. They haven't provided any evidence to the to that effect. They're just kind of bombing stuff and being like, hey, listen, it was definitely owned by Hamas. Proof? I never heard of her. We're just gonna keep bombing. Because they're not looking to just stop Hamas. They're looking to ethnically cleanse their lands of Palestinians. Biden, on this instance, is all talk. He's complete talk. That's all he is. Because as he's saying, oh, Rashid, you're a fighter, and I'm going to make sure that your family's safe. As he's saying, I'm going to make your family safe, you can see the duality of the neo-lib, all right? As he's saying, I'm going to make your family safe, he just signed off to give $800 million to Netanyahu so he can bomb her family. Joe Biden helped pay to make sure that her family dies in the West Bank. As he says, you're a real fighter, man. Save the words. Tough shit. Save the words. We don't need to hear it. And Rashida Tlaib, and the rest of the squad and progressives in the House know that Biden is all talk. He doesn't really care about the Palestinian people. If he did, he would be doing something about it. He has to be forced to. You have to force his hand. And that's exactly what they're going to be doing. The progressives in the House moved to block the almost $800 million arms sales to Israel, saying the U.S. has a responsibility to protect human rights. And damn, we do. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez on Wednesday led other progressive Democrats in introduction of a resolution to block a $735 million sale on precision-guided weapons to Israel. The Biden administration approved of the sale before the recent fighting in the Middle East began and officially notified Congress of the deal on May 5th. Lawmakers are running out of time to stop the sale, with a 15-day review period ending on May 20th. In a statement to the joint resolution, Ocasio-Cortez said that the U.S. has been selling billions of dollars in weaponry to Israel for decades without ever requiring them to protect basic Palestinian rights. In doing so, she said, the U.S. has contributed directly to the death, displacement, and disenfranchisement of millions. At the time, there are so many, including President Biden, support of ceasefire. We should not be sending direct attack weaponry to Prime Minister Netanyahu to prolong this violence, Ocasio-Cortez added. And we absolutely shouldn't. The progressive Democrats are moving to stop Biden from actually putting through this deal, to give Netanyahu's government more money to continue their bombing campaigns of the Gaza Strip, to continue their fight to cleanse Jerusalem from Palestinians, their fight to make sure that they own all of that land there, and or kill all Palestinians, whichever one comes first for them. They don't really care. Nice words and he got an applause. Listen, when you say nice words and do bad things, as long as you say the nice words loud enough and the bad things quiet enough, people won't hear it. Some people won't bat an eye. Thankfully, we have people up there who are actually doing some work to help this, to make this stop. Now, will this go through? I'm not necessarily sure. It's going to take a lot of pushing. One thing I really want to see our progressives in Congress actually use some political power to say nothing is passing, nothing is going through until we stop this deal. This is of such importance that at this point, this is almost paramount to anything else going on at this point in time. The economy can keep running. We can wait on the infrastructure bill. The Palestinians in Gaza and the West Bank cannot wait at this point in time. They cannot wait any longer. They need some real pushing. At this moment in time, Biden is trying to push through his bill, his infrastructure bill. I think it's imperative for progressives to say we're not voting for this bill, because they do have a big enough block to say that we are not to stop Democrats from pushing for that bill in the House, to completely halt it. They have a big enough block to say nothing is going through until we stop this weapons deal to Israel. They have a big enough block to say if Congress does not act on this bill, we will make sure that we stop the movement of that infrastructure bill. They should be going to Biden. They should be negotiating with Biden at this point in time. And when I say negotiate, I mean demanding Biden does not approve of this and demand that Congress disapproves of this weapon deal, or else that infrastructure bill isn't going through. It's something that doesn't have as much precedent as like HR1. It doesn't have as much precedent as the coronavirus package bill. This is really something that they could push their weight around on, because now we have, I believe, if I remember, 12 really hardcore progressives in Congress right now that they can ensure that this bill doesn't pass, because they need us as much as they may not like us, as much as they may get mad about us standing up for human rights. They need us, and they need us to go along with their plans. This is a great opportunity to make sure that we stand up and say, no, this isn't happening. No more kicking the can down the road. The road is coming to an end for Palestinians, and we need to make sure that it doesn't get there. And this is the very least thing that we could possibly do, to stop the prolonged violence, to stand up and actually force Israel, because this is one of the only things that'll happen. Not going with the status quo, not letting things just coast along and continue as they have been, because how things have been is not sustainable for Palestinians at all. We need to make sure that we actually tell them that cannot continue, and the only way that happens is to stop their money flow, is to stop them from being able to get all of these weapons and all of this money from America. And it's not like it's going to stop Israel in its tracks completely, but we make up a massive chunk of their ability to continue these bombing runs on Palestinians, and us pulling back and saying no can do a whole lot to make sure that can do a whole lot to make them think twice about what they're doing. When the money starts drying up, it makes it and protests start moving into legislatures, and legislatures start moving into actual policy against Israel, then they'll start to wake up and be like, maybe we can't continue this anymore. Because as long as people are ambivalent, as long as people are arguing about it, as long as there isn't concrete action denouncing what they are doing, they can easily continue it and easily get away with what they're doing. Because as long as arguing is going on, policy isn't coming down to stop them.